Hello and welcome back to Planet 40k. Today's video is a request from one of our patrons, which as you can tell from the thumbnail is Chief Librarian Mephiston, who's from the Blood Angels supplement. So Mephiston is of course a named character from the HU slots within the book. Comes in at 8 power or 155 points. As he's named, you can only take one of these models within your list. Kicking us off with the keywords of note. He's a Blood Angel obviously, he's an infantry model and a character, a librarian and a psyker, and a Primaris model. So plenty of interactions with all sorts of rules and abilities, which we will cover over the course of the review. Checking out his stats: movement 7 inch, weapon skill 2+, ballistic skill 2+, strength 5, toughness 5, wound 6, attacks 5, leadership 9 and a 2+ save. So very solid stats there and a bit of extra speed there compared to the standard infantry model. Ability wise, Angels of Death, so the only abilities within Angels of Death that will affect him are Shock Assault for the extra attack if charged, was charged or heroically intervened, and then Combat Doctrines, which will interact with his AP of the weapons, which we'll go over later in the video. So he has the Lord of Death ability, which ignores each individual wound taken on a 5+, otherwise known as a Feel No Pain save. Then he's got Psychic Hood, which is a +1 to his Deny the Witch test within 12 inch range. He then has the Blood Angels chapter tactic called Red Thirst, which is a +1 to his advance and charge rolls, and then on top of that it's a +1 to his wound rolls if he charged, was charged or heroically intervened. Finally, he's then got Savage Echoes, which is a Blood Angel super doctrine. If it's the Assault doctrine, which is optionally turn 3 and then turn 4 and 5, he'll get an additional attack if he charged, was charged or heroically intervened. So this is really nice. It also stacks with Shock Assault, which gives an extra attack as well. So as you can see from quite a few of the rules, charging is pretty key to getting extra bonuses. So getting a fight over and done with as quick as possible is the best way with Blood Angels, so that you can leap into another charge and get more bonuses. Before we check out the weapons, we need to discuss his psychic powers. Now Mephiston can attempt to manifest 2 powers per psychic phase and deny 2 powers in the opponent's psychic phase. He will know Smite and 3 powers from the Sanguinary Discipline, so he can't be using the main Space Marine Codex powers unfortunately. He can only have access to the Blood Angels powers, which are actually not that bad, so we'll go over these now. The first is Quickening, which is Warp Charge 6 and allows a Psyker to reroll advance and charge rolls, and also gives him an extra D3 attacks. Worth remembering here your Red Thirst ability, which adds 1 to his advance and charge rolls too. And then adding potentially 3 more attacks to his base attacks of 5, and then 1 for Shock Assault and 1 for Savage Echoes in the Assault Doctrine, can potentially give him 10 attacks in combat, which is pretty sweet. Power 2 is Unleash Rage for Warp Charge value of 6. So he selects a core unit within 12 inches and in melee, and that unit can get an additional hit for every 6 that they score to hit. So it's great on any melee unit really. I mean Sanguinary Guard, Death Company Marines in particular, they're the ones I'm looking at here. Number 3 is Shield of Sanguinius, which is Warp Charge value of 6. You select any Blood Angels unit within 18 inches and they get a 5+ invuln save until your next psychic phase. So it's pretty handy casting this on himself as he doesn't actually carry an invuln. You can also cast this on Sanguinary Guard as well, that's another good option. Power 4, Blood Boil for Warp Charge 6. You select an enemy unit within 18 inches and visible, you roll 2d6, and if the total is more than their toughness, they suffer D3 mortal wounds. If you rolled more than double, then it's a flat 3. So this is a really easy D3 mortal wounds really. You can use this on a character as there's no lookout serving effect in the psychic phase, and it also isn't on the nearest enemy model, it's just a model within 18 inch. Power 5, Blood Lance, which again is Warp Charge value of 6. You select an enemy unit within 18 and you draw the shortest line possible between both the unit and the Psyker. Then roll a d6 for each model the line passes. On a 5+, the model suffers a mortal wound. Now in bigger games this can be pretty good. You obviously want to aim the Blood Lance as far out as possible, making the max use of the 18 inch. And get as many models under it as possible, but there's only a 1 in 3 chance for each model to take a mortal wound, so it's probably not the best power here. Then finally Power 6, Wings of Sanguinius. For Warp Charge value of 6, allows the Psyker to do a normal move or fall back as if it was the movement phase. He also gains a movement of 12 inch and the fly keyword. So now a normal move is not an advanced move, but you are getting 12 inch anyway, so you're getting plenty of movement. Now from the 6 powers, he can select 3 of them. The Quickening, Wings of Sanguinius are the 2 I'd take that work well with him. I'd also take the Shield of Sanguinius as the 3rd option as a method of granting him an invuln save. Unleash Rage isn't a bad option, but your guys already have tons of attacks, and the other 2, which are Witchfire powers, don't really interest me that much because in close combat they're going to do as much damage you need them to do anyway, because you're Blood Angels, that's your specialty. Also we need to check out his Warlord trait, which is a preset trait due to him being a named character. Now he's got the Speed of the Prime Arch, which is the start of the fight phase. If Mephiston is still in engagement range, you can always fight first. So nice, as this type of rule does seem to be becoming more and more popular in 9th edition, but right now it's still a pretty handy rule. So he's pretty much always going first. If he charges, he's going first, and if he's not charged and he's in a fight, he's still going first. Okay, weapons then. He comes with a plasma pistol, Vitarius, and a frag and crack grenades, which you'll probably never use the grenades. I'll stick the grenades on the screen now just so you can get them out of the way. I mean, you've got a plasma pistol, so you've got no real need to use a grenade really. Maybe there's circumstances where you're a few inches away from a large horde and you might want to throw a frag grenade, but that crack grenade has no use at all with him. So the plasma pistol. So this can be fired in 2 modes. It's either the standard mode or the supercharged mode, both a 12-inch pistol 1. Standard mode is strength 7 minus 3 AP and 1 damage, and if you supercharge it, it's strength 8 minus 3 AP and 2 damage. However, if you do try to supercharge it and you roll a 1 to hit, the bearer is destroyed. So I'd never supercharge this, it's too expensive to be doing this. It's not worth doing 1 extra damage. Then we get onto his melee weapon, which is Vitarius. This is the strength times 2, making it a strength 10, minus 3 AP, and the damage is D3. Breakdown is based on his 5 attacks that his datasheet shows. Of course, like we already mentioned, he has the capability of having 3 more from the Quickening, 1 more from Shock Assault, and another from Savage Echoes. But for this example, I'll just use his basic 5. So 5 attacks that hit on 2s will net you around 4.2 hits on average. When you've got strength 10 and red thirst, which is a +1 to wound, then you're virtually wounding anything toughness 9 or less on 2s, which is incredible. And it's also minus 3 AP, so it's going through armor or putting them on a 6+ save, or in runs. And of course, if it's the assault doctrine, it'll be a minus 4 AP, so in runs only, that will save them, as most 2+ armor save models will have an in run anyway. However, the damage is a little bit of a letdown. It's only D3 damage, so it's quite unpredictable. In one fight, you might only be able to kill 4 Primaris Marines, and in another one, it might be just 1 Primaris Marine and maybe half. But really, infantry isn't his target. He needs to be going for the bigger and badder units, characters, monsters, and vehicles. He can do an average of 5.8 damage per fight phase with his 5 attacks, so that obviously doesn't include all the attacks we mentioned. If you're given the max potential of 10 attacks with Shock Assault, Quickening, and Savage Echoes, then he's doing about 11.6 damage per fight phase to something big as well, and this increases to 17.3 if you roll well for the damage rolls. We've just done it on averages here. And don't forget, he's always fighting first, which is a real good defense for him to clean up before taking any hits, especially without an in-run save. So moving away from his impressive breakdown, we're going to look at some synergy between himself, the supplement, and the Space Marine Codex too. So stratagems firstly, there's only one actually from the Blood Angel supplement that works well with him, which is Spiritual Might for 1 CP, allows him to use an additional psychic power. Now there is a bit of value in this stratagem as he carries 3 powers plus Smite, so if you wanted to cast the Quickening and Wings of Sanguinius and the shield on him for the in-run, you can do all 3 for just 1 CP. From the Space Marine Codex, you've got Only in Death does duty end for 2 CP, lets him fight even when he's just died in combat. Now this one's quite rare to be used as you need to have not fought in that round yet, and he always fights first. However, there are a lot of units in the game right now where they also have the same ability that he does, where they get to fight first. A lot of Slanesh models in particular, it is becoming more and more common each time a new codex is released. So that's all there is really on the stratagem front that's worth looking at. There are a couple that aren't really worth it, for example Gene Route Might. However, Transhuman Physiology could get some play to protect him from high strength weapons. So what's the best units to have alongside Mephiston? Honestly, any melee unit that can keep up with him. I know he's only 7-inch movement, which isn't that bad at all, but once he's got the Wings of Sanguinius on him, he's likely to move his 7 inches and then a further 12 inches on top in the psychic phase, doing a total of 19 inches without even advancing. So he's going to reach his targets before others do, unless of course you hold him back. Now deep striking Terminators to reinforce the fight from turn 2 is an option. It can either be Assault Terminators or the regular ones with some firepower before they jump into combat. Just bear in mind, if you're shooting some models off the board, your opponent is going to be taking dead models from the front, which will increase your range for the charge. The Sanguinius can jump into the battle with his Miraculous Saviour ability, and he can actually grant Mephiston an extra attack if he hasn't used Shock Assault. A Sanguinary Priest can be handy to be healing D3 wounds a turn. Now the Narthesian won't be needed though because he's already got a 5+ feel no pain roll, but healing D3 isn't bad. One of my favourite units in the supplement is Sanguinary Guard, plenty of attacks and can be kitted out with either the swords, the axes or the power fist, and they're pretty quick too at 12 inch. Then of course your Death Company with jump packs do the same sort of punch, and they can bring Thunderhammers. Now from the Space Marine Codex, you could opt to take an Invicta Warsuit. Now I'm not a huge fan of this model, but it's got one of the few things that will help, which is getting a turn 1 charge off, as he's got his concealed position. So he can deploy only 9 inches away and then move and charge on your turn, which will be right alongside Mephiston, and it can be a huge distraction as well. Outriders could be another solid option with their 14-inch movement and can provide a solid amount of firepower to clean off the screens and still jump into combat turn 2. Maybe turn 1 if both players deploy pretty close, and those Outriders have 19 attacks base from a 3-man unit. So even though the direct synergy with Mephiston isn't there, supporting him early with an early charge is how you synergize him indirectly, as you don't want him to be winning this battle in turn 1 and then being left in the open on your opponent's turn 1 or turn 2 with no lookout sir in effect, so he does need support. Now you could be more patient and let your deep strike units and jump pack units move in before running them up the board into those fights, and he will last much longer. So concluding the review, a very punchy unit. He doesn't have an invuln save, but he does have the feel no pain roll and can easily be given a 5+ invuln with a psychic ability, and the fact that he's got 3 powers and can cast 2 really makes him quite versatile due to the actual powers he can take. I would love to have seen his melee weapon have a flat 3 damage, or even a 2 would be nice, as D3 just sucks when you roll 1s. It's a little bit underwhelming after doing all of the psychic shenanigans, getting him into combat, and then getting all the extra attacks to then roll 1s for the damage. The plasma is a little bit of a perk. I'd never risk supercharging it, even if you could reroll 1s, it's just not worth losing him for that extra 1 damage. For me, when I'm building a Blood Angels list, I'm always torn between using Mephiston and the Librarian Dreadnought. I just like the thought of giving the fly keyword to a Dreadnought with the wings of Sanguinius, but that review's for another day. Today we're rating Mephiston, and I think I'm going to be giving him a Planet 40k rating of 4.5 out of 5. I was stuck in the middle between a 4 and a 4.5, but I'm going to be giving him the benefit of the doubt here. Now he does have no invuln unless he casts his power, which isn't a guarantee. Fighting first though is huge in my opinion, especially when your invuln didn't even get casted in the psychic phase. And then you've got of course the 5+ feel no pain roll on top. Hitting and wounding on 2s with anything between 5 and 10 attacks. That's my thoughts on today's unit. Let me know yours below. Let me know how you feel him. What psychic powers do you take? What units do you use to support him? And our question of the day is, if you had to take one of the following, who are you taking? Mephiston or a Librarian Dreadnought? This one's for my own personal help, as I'm leaning towards a Dreadnought in my own personal list, but I'll let you guys try and convince me either way. If you are new to the channel, please hit the subscribe button below and remember to drop a like on your way out. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.